What's up, everybody? It's Julian from the Draft Lives here. Today, I'm going to be going over 5 players that may go in the first round that you are not aware of. I'm going to be looking for rumors that are swirling around the league. I'll be looking for players that have performed well in the NFL Combine recently or in the All-Star Circuit games, the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl. Those are the guys that really boost their stock late in the season compared to the regular season, and they are the ones that sneak in the back end of the first round. Notably, last year, he didn't go in the first round, but Tyler Shuck went to the Saints pretty early relative to where he was draft projected as like a 4th rounder. And that was literally all through his postseason practice and the Senior Bowl and his NFL Combine performance. So the first person I'm going to talk about today is obviously Malachi Lawrence. He's the UCF edge rusher, University of Central Florida. He's been one of the most productive pass rushers over the last 2 years with a very high percentage pass rush win rate. Very difficult to say if you say it fast. Pass rush win rate. All right, I got it. He's had over 22% averaged out over the last 2 years, 22% pass rush win rate, and that's very elite. That's high end. You'll see guys like David Bailey win a lot of his reps, and that's why he's going to go top 10. But there's not much talk about Malachi Lawrence. I'm going to put up the pictures on the side here. That's what NFL.com has like as their little projection. They do it every year with Next Gen Stats and the prospect grade and all that. I think it's very interesting. We'll see these all on draft night, depending where you watch it on what the streaming service. But we'll look over Malachi Lawrence right now. So they have him as a 6.26, which is pretty high. That's like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But when it comes down to what he did at the NFL Combine, he was 3rd amongst edge rushers at running the 40-yard dash. He's super quick. He's super twitchy. He's got a 40-inch vertical jump. That's an explosive athlete right there. He doesn't have the most size to him, but the athleticism outweighs what his little flaws with the size. He's just super juiced up on the edge, and that's what some teams really need. So who do I think can take this guy in the first round? Well, primarily I'll think about the Patriots at pick 31. They do need an edge rusher. They already traded away Keon White at the beginning of last year, who's more of a heavy-set edge rusher. So we can tell they're looking for real twitched up juice on the edge that is going to get after the quarterback. They have Landry, but he's on the later end of his career. He's an older guy. And yeah, he's with Vrabel, and he had a decent season. But someone like Malachi Lawrence can be in a rotational role in the first few weeks of the season. And then hopefully with proper development, he'll just burst onto the scene. Do I think he'll go first round? Actually, yeah, I think there's a very decent chance that Malachi Lawrence goes pick 31. A little bit earlier is possible. Some teams need edge rushers. Someone like the Buccaneers could trade down or end up trading up into the first round for someone like Lawrence. If not, yeah, he's definitely a top 50 pick. The NFL has been pretty high on him, especially after that performance at the NFL Combine. The next player I want to talk about is someone that is being highly underrated. Recently posted about him on Twitter. He's been fantastic in his senior season with the Miami Hurricanes, and that's Keontae Scott, the cornerback. Very versatile DB, the most versatile player in the class. He could play safety, he could play outside, he could play nickel. Fantastic player. We're going to read what one of the more respected analysts across the league, Lance Zierlein, has to say. But first, I'll say what I want to say about him. He's got good ball skills, and when it comes to a tackler near the line of scrimmage, he doesn't miss. He's got power, he's got speed, and he's got the NFL IQ that a lot of players might not have. You know, they don't know when to blitz, they don't know how to blitz. You'll see it often, safeties taking bad angles and mistiming their blitzes from the slot. But that doesn't happen often with Scott, if at all. Yeah, he's an older prospect. He's 25 years old, but he's been, mostly healthy, thankfully, in his career. And then we just saw what he did at the end in the playoffs, in the college football playoffs. What a fantastic run. Probably one of the better runs I've seen from a defender in any sort of capacity in football. Pick 6 against OSU. Great game against Indiana. Destroyed Marcel Reed against Texas A&M. Like, just a very good player. So I'm going to read out, obviously you see it on the screen, you can read it yourself, but I'll read out what Zierlein has to say and then his pro comparison. So Zierlein says, Scott's play style and tackle production resemble that of a will linebacker. I agree there. Weak inside linebacker is what he's referring to, which is the player that'll play more the overhang position. They're not going to play on the strong side of the field. They'll line up more against, let's say, the tight end and the wide receiver to the right side, and then there's a slot receiver to the left. The weak inside linebacker will line up closer to the slot receiver. He's not going to take on the block of the tight end, but it depends the formation. The Sam is the strong side linebacker, and they'll play closer to the line of scrimmage because they're just the strong side. You know, they're able to shed the blocks more, and they're less reliable in coverage. But someone like Scott, yeah, he's very powerful, obviously, like any linebacker is, and he's got the production and skills to cover. Zierlein then says he's edgy and urgent near the line with an ability to slip and play off of blocks, which, yeah, like I said, he's very powerful. He could take on the blocks from the tight end or the lineman and just slip under them and try and make a tackle. Again, the tape against Indiana is fantastic. Zierlein says He can snuff out run plays before they get started. Scott lacks ball production due to inconsistent break anticipation and route squeeze, but he can twitch and trigger to close windows, wrap, and finish. Keeps yards after contact to a minimum. Scott's blitz talent off the edge makes him a valued added rusher. He's an older prospect and needs to play in a scheme that allows him to keep his eyes forward, but Scott's football character should make him a team favorite as a starting nickelback. And then he compares him to Elijah Molden, who's like a hybrid nickel safety, like we can see Keontae Scott at the next level. But not that it's disrespectful, but I think Molden's been a decent player when healthy, former Washington Husky. But I think Scott's a way better player. I think there's a high chance he goes in the first round. I definitely eye down Miami. The Dolphins now have pick 30. Depending what they do at pick 11, pick 30 could be cornerback. They really need a safety hybrid type, someone that could tackle. They just lost that guy in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I don't want to say that Minkah Fitzpatrick is a similar player, but when he was playing in that slot role in Miami as a rookie, it gave me similar vibes. I also think Xavier McKinney, who had my pro comparison when he was coming out, was Minkah Fitzpatrick, is a little bit more powerful than Minkah, leading me to think, yeah, you know what, he's similar to Keontae Scott as well. So I think Elijah Molden's a decent play style comparison. When it comes to the actual talent of the player and maybe the NFL production, I'll go Xavier McKinney. The next player I think can go in the first round is Sam Hecht. Now, if you're watching this video, you might be a casual or you might be someone that is very knowledgeable and you just want to see what I have to say before hitting that subscribe button. Sam Hecht for the casual community, yeah, very unknown. He's a center out of Kansas State. Between the combine and the All-Star Circuit games, he's been fantastic, honestly. He's boosted his stock. I remember watching his tape being like, hey, this is like a day three, early day three guy, round four. And then I just saw him, you know, in the one-on-ones, he dominated. In the run drills, he dominated. He's got good athleticism. He lacks great size, but when you're a center, that's why we can see players like Aaron Brewer of the Dolphins, very undersized. They had him working as a tight end when he was undrafted. Yeah, 6'1", probably 285, and Hecht's bigger. When we look at what Next Gen Stats has to say, they have him at a 79 production and a 68 athleticism score. I think 79 production is very good. When it comes to production as a center, yeah, you want those pancake blocks. You want to be able to protect your quarterback. And I think Hecht did a good job of that. Just wasn't consistent with his hands on his Kansas State film in 2025. But what I saw in the offseason kind of evens that out. So do I think he's a first round prospect? No. But I do think that the Texans, especially that they interviewed him recently in the top 30 visits, I think the Texans are a nice landing spot for Sam over here. We're going to read a little bit of what Lance Zierlein has to say. It says, Hecht lacks ideal mass and length, but it will be hard to find a center in this year's draft with better technique. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, the size isn't great. I don't think the technique thing, that there's a bit of a big claim. I think there's some better centers out there technique wise, but I think just everything put together, athleticism, technique, and all that, a very good center. Outside of that, I think the Seahawks at 32, there's a high chance he goes because he could play center. Worst case, he could play guard in their system. Anthony Bradford kind of picked it up towards the end. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl, but he's still more of just a mass player that isn't good with his feet, isn't good with his hands at all. So if they want to move away from that, they could potentially put Hecht at guard until they find a permanent solution at right guard, and then he could be the future at center. Now, the fourth player I want to talk about when it comes to players that may sneak into the first round, this one's a bit more well known. Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. What a monster of a human. This guy just eats up space, and he's not a nose tackle. According to PFF's free alignment statistics, he's been over in the B gap more often than the A gap for all 3 of his last years, which, yeah, when it comes to the gaps, the 2 gaps next to the center, so his right shoulder and his left shoulder, those are the A gaps. That's where a nose tackle would potentially line up, is either head on the center or right in the A gap. And Lee Hunter lines up over the guard in the B gap. He'll be rushing often, either inside the right guard shoulder or inside the left guard shoulder, something like that. So he's not a nose tackle. He's just built like a monster. But his athleticism at that size, I'm sure, is what got teams interested in him. I mean, you'll look at the combine numbers and you'll be like, no, like this is not great. And you know, it's not great, but it's not great for someone that may be like a receiver or a tight end. Running a 5.18 at an official 318 pounds, standing at 6'4". You know, it's very impressive just for his play style. He's able to anchor himself down in the run game and then use his strong grip, his iron grip, to break free from the guard and then get in the backfield. Yeah, he's not athletic. He's not going to quick twitch into the backfield or anything like that, but that's not what I need. He has enough pass rush as that big player that, you know, it's very interesting. I'm sure teams are intrigued. Teams like the Bears, teams like the Chargers, and a team like the Giants that could trade back into the first round. They have an early second round pick. They could go ahead and get someone to play alongside Dexter Lawrence, and he reminds me a lot of someone like Dexter Lawrence. I think Lawrence has a bit more quick twitch in his hands. He's a bit quicker, but I think Lee Hunter is just the stronger of the two, and his backfield presence can remind Clemson fans of back in the day when they had Sexy Dexy and Christian Wilkins on that front, just wreaking havoc on quarterbacks and running backs. Now, Next Gen Stats has his production at 82 and his athleticism at 53. I think that's pretty accurate. I think his production might even be a bit higher just because, again, the pressures and the sacks might not be there, but just enough pass rush to get past and maybe get a hand up. He's got a few batted balls, and yeah, just the tackles at the line of scrimmage and his ability to hunt down the running backs. Very impressive. Let's read what a little bit of what Lance Zierlein has to say. It says Hunter is a two-gapping nose tackle for odd or even fronts. Now, yeah, I think in the NFL there's a high chance he'll play nose, but what we saw in college wasn't a nose tackle. He did play some nose, especially this year, the highest percentage of nose snaps he's taken. But in the NFL, we could see him a lot more over the center than over the guard. He's very much like Desmond Watson, if you know what that is. That was the 450-pound Florida Gator D tackle. He was just a monster, and he wasn't productive at all because he just wasn't athletic, and there was times where he got pushed back. But just the way Zierlein's describing Hunter's game is where you'll see often Desmond Watson at Florida would just stand in the gap, and running backs would have to run away because he was just a monster. It was just a mass of human in that gap. So yeah, I think so far out of the four players I've talked about, I think Hunter has the highest chance of going in the first round. There was a little bit more hype before the combine, but then people, the media sees these combine numbers and then they're a little bit scared away because they expect better numbers or they just want to draft a better athlete. But I think NFL teams are aware of how good Lee Hunter actually is, and there's a high chance he goes in the top 32 come April. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about Mike Washington. Now, this is the latest riser. This is the more recent guy that a lot of casuals might not know about other than maybe SEC super fans. Mike Washington is a stud. He's a decent running back, as we see it right there, 55 production according to Next Gen Stats. He was good at Arkansas, had a big fumbling problem. I watched his film, I'm like, yeah, very explosive, thick running back. Like, I think he's 220 officially, standing at 6'1". But, a little bit of vision issues, fumbling issues. But then he came to the combine and just exploded. Was such an explosive athlete, was super good. 4.33 40, 39 vert, 10.8 broad, and a 1.51 10-yard split. Combine that with already a good off-season training and the All-Star Circuit games. Teams are high on it. Now, do I think a running back is going to go in the first round other than Jeremiah Love? Personally, I don't believe so. I think it's just going to be Jeremiah Love in the top 5 or 6, and then we'll see more skill position. There's plenty of good receivers in this class. But with this late rise of Mike Washington out of Arkansas, I can see him potentially going as well to the Seahawks. The Seahawks just let Kenneth Walker go in free agency to the Chiefs. Zach Charbonnet that has a ligament injury that is going to take a while for him to rehab. Yeah, he'll probably be ready for maybe week 4. Worst case, they put him on the physically unable to perform list. But who do you have at running back outside of Charbonnet? No one. The Seahawks historically love just rotating a bunch of running backs, drafting a bunch of running backs, even if it doesn't hit. They're not scared to go ahead and grab those players like Chris Carson, who became the Seahawks starting running back after just 1 year on the bench, and he was a 7th-round pick. So they're not scared to draft high and then start you if you're better and you're even undrafted. But someone like Mike Washington could be a sneaky pick at 32. I still think they're trying to trade for running backs such as Devon Achane because the Dolphins are rebuilding, retooling clearly, so they're just trying to go all draft picks, just get rid of everyone good that needs a second contract or is already expensive. So I think that's still on the table. When it comes to a running back, people have mocked Jadarian Price, the backup to Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. I think Mike Washington's a better shout here. He's got less valuable production because he's an overall worse runner in college, but I think the athleticism there, it's just such a big difference, and they might go someone more explosive with the power. Kind of like Kenneth Walker. I'm not going to say the pro comp is Kenneth Walker because at Wake Forest and Michigan State, Kenneth Walker was a different animal. That guy was just so good. He was a first-round talent. He slipped to the second round. The Seahawks got lucky. I don't think Mike Washington's a first-round talent. I'd personally grade him in the late third, again, based on production. I'm not grading the athlete. He's a super athlete, but just as a player, fumbling issues, vision issues. But when it comes down to it, I think the Seahawks might value him a little bit more, and that is not my current pick for them at 32, but I would not be shocked at all to see Mike Washington go there. Let me know in the comments if there's anyone that you guys think is going to be in the first round that the media is not really talking about right now. Let me know if you agree with any of my picks, if you like the film of any of these guys, or if just overall you like the vibe, the position fits. Outside of that, That was 5 players I think might go in the first round that the media is not talking about. And for the next video, we might be doing a mock draft. Who knows? April 23rd is fastly approaching. That is draft night 1. I'm super excited. I hope everyone is too. We're at 120 something subscribers right now. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me know what videos I should post if you see this video. And outside of that, thank you. I'll see you next time.